Is the day of judgment coming? In Israel, a Bible prophecy is fulfilled. The first red female calf in 2 millennia was born there. The Temple Institute announced the miraculous birth. In the statement, the Institute said that the red female calf brings the promise that biblical purity has returned to the world. In both Christianity and Judaism, red heifers appear in stories that speak of the end of time. The birth and sacrifice of a red-colored cow preceded the building of the third temple in Jerusalem. In Judaism, the building of the temple will take place before the coming of the Messiah. The previous 2 temples were destroyed. Since ancient times, our ancestors have looked forward to signs and events that would give them guidance with a higher or how to act in the future. And while some of these events rested on precise calculations, such as the placement of the stars, which determine the sowing and harvesting of crops, others, such as natural phenomena, which taken as omens of impending danger or hard days. However, looking for greater specificity on the subject of divination, we come to the ancient shamans and prophets. Today we even know modern equivalents in the persons of Venga, Sebrakova, Edgar Cayce, and others. These modern prophets are recognized worldwide because more than 1 or 2 of their visions have come true. No one to this day can explain the phenomenon of these men, but no one has explained the genius of people like Einstein and Tesla either. Unlike the visionaries, we have records of and by the prophets from some of the earliest books in our history. Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, almost every religion has its prophets. But their prophecies don't just span antiquity, they reach to the present day, and well beyond that, all the way to the end of days. But what is in store for us in the coming years according to all these ancient and modern prophets? That is what we're going to find out in the next few minutes. The Bulgarian prophetess Slava Sebrakova, who lived from 1902 to 1991, warns that the Great War will start from the Holy Land. As you understand, the woman, God forgive her, left our world over 3 decades ago. However, she has very accurately described what is happening today. There is a huge unmanageable fire in that area, referring to the territories of Israel and Palestine. When it breaks out, many Jews will come to the other side of the peace. They will perish. Thus prophesied the phenomenal Bulgarian. The war will coincide in time with a great cataclysm, a volcanic eruption, or an earthquake. Then the Jews will be attacked from all sides. No one will be able to help them because all countries will be at war with each other. China and Russia too, but against each other. Millions will die in these events, and the Jews will be forced to hide in caves to save themselves. There in one of them, they will accidentally discover the Ark of Moses with the Ark of the Covenant. Then they will recall the forgotten covenant and believe that they are God's chosen people. Sebrakova prophesied. When and if this will come true remains a mystery, but it seems very close to everything that is happening in the world today. Interpreters of the prophetess' predictions point to the period between the years 2025 and 2035 as the most likely. But Sebrakova doesn't stop there. Here's what she has to say. Once the disasters subside, the marvelous harmony among the people that has been dreamt of for millennia is coming. After the tribulations, an era of spirituality is dawning. But until then, a period will be experienced that is like a stumbling block, a slowing down of time. Man has yet to give something of himself which will carry him forward. He has to work out inner harmony. Whole nations will disappear, and again it will repeat, "It has been said to me." You will go a long time without meeting a living human being. But if one stands out before you, remember, it is needless to ask. The soul of Christ will be in him. Whoever survives the trials will be blessed. The world will become more proportionate, clean, and new. The survivors will have a renewed value system that corresponds with the harmony of cosmos and nature. The recorded humanity will move forward. They will reveal the unconsecrated side of the Force. After the sixth race is born, a much more exalted seventh is coming. The manipulators will be rewarded, selfishness too. The ability to see ahead has been taken away from the representatives of our civilization. At the earliest dawns, however, we possess this divine ability. As the sixth race develops, it will be resurrected. Does eternity have a past and a future? The 21st century will be at a watershed for human progress. By the year 2100, the age of the spiritual man will have dawned. As early as 2050, its birth will begin. More and more people will be spiritually sighted. By the year 2100, the third cycle of the evolution of mankind after Christ will be completed on earth, and the fourth cycle will begin. Tumultuous changes are afoot. An age renowned beyond recognition is unfolding before me. A wonder-working spirituality will replace the prevailing crude materialism. 21 uplifted beings in these years will guide the evolution of the human race. Modern passenger cars will be dropped entirely. Compared to the new ones, they will look like dinosaurs. Primitive, crude, and underdone, I see a city with a straight parallel streets. Buildings no taller than 4 to 5 stories, like made of glass. Their windows frosted, porous with pores. This is even more distant time. Vehicles absolutely silent. They have something like a steering wheel and fins. They hover low over the ground, almost above the buildings. I'm picturing the people who will be driving them. They'll eat more fruit than pasta. By the time it will be understood, meat is carcinogenic. It will be forever abandoned. Reverence for nature will be expressed and food vegetarians will predominate. From the total different life, their nature will gradually change. They are before me, I see, with larger heads and elongated, considerably lightened bodies. Edgar Cayce, also called the Sleeping Prophet, lived between 1877 and 1945. Overlaps much of what Severkov said. Cayce in turn was a great prophet who is said to have had access to the collective consciousness where the past, present, and future are recorded. That is, the knowledge of eternity. In his lifetime, Cayce gave over 14,000 prophecies in aspects ranging from history and archaeology to politics and holistic medicine. He made them in a trance-like dream state. Thanks to his visions and seances, thousands of people have been healed. In 1920, he quite clearly said that the Wall Street Stock Exchange would soon collapse and the U.S. would be swept by a major economic crisis. 9 years later, it became a fact. He also predicted Kennedy's demise, Hitler's rise to power, the beginning of World War II, its end, and then the collapse of the USSR. For the near future, Edgar saw that people would discover a perpetual motion machine type engine that, once started, would power itself. In geopolitics, as early as the mid-20th century, Cayce charted a fantastic future for China as a country of unprecedented technology and progress. He even predicted that one day this mega-state would become much more democratic and that it would be the cradle of world Christianity. For now, however, from today's point of view, the latter seems more than fantastic. Regarding our more distant future, Cayce saw that man is destined for a longer life. Science will figure out how to overcome the program in our body that is responsible for aging. Man should live much longer than he is usually given, and he will. The prophet said, emphatically. After 2072, humans will begin to live longer, become more perfect, and communicate telepathy. Then technical progress will stop, and spiritual progress will begin, which will take us much further in development. By the year 2150, humans will begin to become transparent, skinned, and their brains will be so developed they will overcome even the Earth's gravity when thought. A detailed video about Casey's life, work, and prophecies can be found on our channel. Saint Paisios, the Sanctimonious, is known for the prophecies about the return of Constantinople to the Christian heritage. This Greek monk of the Holy Mountain lived between 1924 to 1994 and was canonized in 2015. Before he embarked on the spiritual path, he was known as Arsenias Esnapidis. In secular life, served in the army. Paisios predicted a future Middle East conflict involving Europe, Russia, and China. This conflict would lead to the cession of Constantinople to Greece, while Turkey would experience hardship. Part of the population would be ruined, another part would convert to Christianity, and a third would leave the country, moving to Mesopotamia, now Iraq. In 1991, the prophet warned of World War III. He points to the Middle East as the place to begin hostilities, where 200 million Chinese soldiers will descend around the Euphrates. They will take Jerusalem unhindered. This prophecy, however, is also familiar to us from the book of Revelation, in which the Bible ends. There, St. Peter and St. Paul read the book of Revelation. The number of the troops was 200 million, and I heard the number of them. But the prophecy of the monk Paisi continues like this. On the territory of Turkey, the armies of Europe and Russia will clash. In this confrontation, there are no winners. Constantinople, i.e., Istanbul, will go to the Greeks, although they will be more like outside observers than the participants in military events. The monk predicts a difficult future for Russia, compared it to a ship struggling in a sea storm. The scene is bleak, and the crew and passengers filled with despair and fear. At this point in the dramatic narrative, a rescue rider emerges from the waves of the sea and manages to stabilize the situation and steer the ship back to its destination. According to Pisces, Russia will go through serious trials that will affect not only religious beliefs, but also the country itself. Despite these difficulties, he sees the arrival of monarchical power in Russia before the Second Coming. During the short reign of this ambassador, many changes will be implemented. In a historical context, the term near future can have different meanings and can cover a period of 10 years or even more than 100 years. There are prophecies that predict that Muslim rule over the city will last 600 years. When we add these 600 years to the year in which the Turks conquered Constantinople in 1453, we get the year 2053. This is also the time to mention what happened for the first time in 2,000 years. The birth of a red-colored cow preceded the building of the Third Temple in Jerusalem. In fact, the Temple Institute, as well as several other organizations, were created precisely for the purpose of building the Third Temple on Mount Moriah, also called the Temple Mount. Some theologians believe that the building of the temple is invariably associated with the end times or the Day of Judgment. The Institute's director, Rabbi Chaim Richman, believes that the time has come for the temple to be built after the red cow was born. But here it gets even stranger, because just a few weeks after this event, we witness the fulfillment of another ancient biblical prophecy concerning the end times. From under the stones of the Wailing Wall, the only surviving part of the Second Temple of Solomon, destroyed by the Romans at the beginning of the first millennial AD, a serpent crawled out, causing turmoil and panic among those praying, who saw it as a sign of the coming of the Messiah and the end of the world. According to the Bible, prophecy experts, This was the third sign of the approaching apocalypse. Unfortunately, the picture before us for the next century looks more apocalyptic than optimistic. Nevertheless, we dearly hope that all these prophecies will not be proven right in this particular part, and that we will move straight on to better days in which we'll be kinder to our fellow man, living longer, communicate with telepathy, and the world will be a better place. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel and share it with a friend. Thank you for being with us.